Welcome to the Willis Candle Shop. Today we're focusing on a topic that every candle enthusiast needs to master: how to properly light a wood wick candle. Lighting a wood wick candle isn't quite the same as lighting a traditional cotton wick. Without getting too deep into the technical weeds, a wood wick requires significantly more energy to get started. To guarantee your candle has a fighting chance to thrive, you must light the wick fully from left to right across the entire top surface area. Please observe the demonstration here. You'll notice a significant amount of time is spent ensuring the lighting instrument moves slowly across the entire width of the wood. We aren't just lighting a tip, we are engaging the entire surface of the wick. Even with a successful light, you might encounter the most common issue. The wick stays lit for about 10 or 15 seconds and then simply goes out. This usually happens because the wick is too long. Unlike a cotton wick, which can draw up wax via capillary action almost immediately, even at heights of 3/8 of an inch, a wood wick operates differently. Most wood wicks aren't pre-soaked in wax to give them a boost. Therefore, the wood must burn hot enough and long enough to melt the wax immediately surrounding the perimeter. Only once that wax is liquid can the capillary action begin, drawing those vapors up to fuel the flame. If your wick is trimmed to the ideal height of 1/8 of an inch and it still struggles, don't fret. This is easily resolved. You may need to perform a second lighting attempt, holding your lighter across the surface for about 5 to 7 seconds to ensure the heat is deep enough to kickstart that wax flow. In some cases, that very first burn is the most challenging. The wood may char significantly, and if that charred material blocks the wax vapors from reaching the flame, the light may shrink to a tiny ember or extinguish entirely. Remember, wood wicks truly have a mind of their own. One candle might behave perfectly, while the next one in the same batch requires a little more patience. If your wick extinguishes or drops to an ineffective ember, here is the fix. Blow out the flame if it's still lingering and let the wax cool for about 2 to 3 minutes until it is no longer liquid. Let the wood wick cool down as well. Once the surface is stable, we'll move to the next step in the video, which is removing the charred portions to reset the wick for success. Now that the wax has solidified and the wick has cooled down completely, watch the demonstrator remove the charred portions from the top of the wood. You'll notice a concerted effort to clear away only the char that separates freely from the surface. As a general rule, these pieces should be very easy to remove. If you find sections that feel firm or don't break away easily, take that as your notification that you've cleared enough. If the wood doesn't crumble, it's still a viable fuel source for the wick and should be left intact. You only need to worry about the loose burnt debris that prevents the flame from fully engaging the fresh wood underneath. Observe how the char is cleared. The demonstrator turns the container over to shake the loose debris into their hand away from the wax. We do this for 2 reasons. First, you want to keep your candle free of any debris that isn't the wick or the wax itself. Second, those charred bits will eventually dissolve and discolor your wax, turning it into an unappealing brown if left inside. Safety is always a priority, so treat these charred remains as a potential fire hazard. Always wet them down in the sink before throwing them in the trash to ensure they are fully extinguished. Once the wick surface is clear and the wax is free of debris, it's time to follow the same lighting procedure we used initially. Move your flame steadily from left to right for about 5 to 7 seconds, ensuring the entire top surface is engaged. You'll notice the wick takes off much more aggressively this time. The first lighting attempt is almost like an opening ceremony. It prepares the wood and creates the ideal structure for a consistent long-term burn. By removing that initial char, you've created the perfect environment for the wick to function exactly as intended. Please stand by as we move into the third and final segment of our video. For our final segment, we're looking at a common mistake: attempting to light the surrounding wax instead of the wick itself. While wax is the fuel source, you should never apply a direct flame to it on purpose. In this demonstration, I was actually trying to get the wax to burn and bore a hole to create a drain to show you the effect, but unfortunately it didn't happen. While this is a rare occurrence, it can happen, and it creates an air pocket that acts exactly like a shower drain. When this drain effect is in place, the melted wax should be pooling around the wood to fuel the flame. Instead, it runs down into the hole, starving the wick. If you continue to fight with the candle at this stage, you'll end up with severe tunneling, where the top of the wick is buried deep below the rest of the wax surface. Fortunately, this is fixable. If you've created a tunnel, let the candle cool completely. Take a simple kitchen spoon and scrape the wax down until the top of the wood is once again sitting about 1/8 of an inch above the wax. It may look a little rough at first right after scraping, but once you relight it and a full melt pool forms about 2 hours later, the surface will level out and you won't even notice there was a problem. You might wonder if wood wicks are worth this extra attention. But on a rainy day or a cool afternoon, when you hear that distinct crackling and realize you can smell the fragrance from 20 feet away, you'll understand why they're so special. I hope these insights help you enjoy a better burn. Check back regularly at williscandleshop.com for fresh content on our coconut, soy, and beeswax candles. Thanks for stopping by the Willis Candle Shop and have a great day.